What's up, guys? When discussing the best jerseys in the NFL, those of the Green Bay Packers, Minnesota Vikings, Pittsburgh Steelers often come up first. In terms of the absolute worst, that really depends on who you ask. There's not really a consensus when it comes to the most hideous uniforms. Most NFL teams have kept the same uniform colors and designs for the most part. There have been many tweaks here and there, but not many of them have undergone drastic changes. However, every NFL team has had at least one very ugly, forgettable uniform. We're talking so ugly that even their own fans probably wouldn't think of buying one of those jerseys. So let's take a trip down memory lane and find the absolute worst uniform in the history of all 32 clubs. Make sure to subscribe to TPS and put on your notifications because we post videos all the time. New videos all the time, subscribe. Make sure to comment your video ideas down below. We'll be looking, and if you choose your idea, we'll give you a shout out in the video. Arizona Cardinals, 1994 red uniforms. 1994 marked the first season in which the Redbirds were rebranded from the Phoenix Cardinals to the Arizona Cardinals. Buddy Ryan became the new head coach, and the Cardinals added to the makeover by introducing new uniforms. The uniforms were just downright ugly. Too much red, and the design was 70-something years out of date. There was just nothing to like about these. Atlanta Falcons, 1980 road uniforms. 1980 marked one of the most successful seasons in the history of the Atlanta Falcons. They went 12-4 and reached the NFC divisional round before falling to the Dallas Cowboys. The season itself was memorable, but the road uniforms were rather forgettable. The Falcons donned these hideous jerseys that had shades of red, white, and black, but the silver pants simply didn't go with the other colors. If the pants were red or black, we'd have no complaints, but throwing in silver pants with red, white, and black lines just made for an ugly outfit. Baltimore Ravens, 2015 home alternate uniforms. To celebrate the franchise's 20th season in Baltimore during the 2015 campaign, the Ravens introduced an alternate home uniform. The jerseys had the standard and admirable purple colors, but the gold pants made for a very hideous look. It looks like all those Ravens got mustard stains on their pants. Thank goodness these uniforms didn't last long. Buffalo Bills, 1964-69 AFL uniforms. The Bills had 3 different uniform designs during their decade-long run in the AFL. No complaints about the first 2 designs, but when the Bills changed it up for the 1964 season, it all went downhill. The stripes on the side just don't do it for us here. We like more sprinkles of red here. The predominant white helmets and pants are just bland. Don't like it, not too good. Carolina Panthers, 1995 away uniforms. The Panthers haven't seen a lot of jersey changes since the inaugural 1995 season. We're pretty much just nitpicking here, so let's go with the 95 away unis. I mean, I don't know, just not really a big fan of the fat blue stripes along the shoulders. More doses of silver, one of Carolina's main colors today, would have been nice as well. Chicago Bears, 1994 throwback uniforms. 1994 marked the Chicago Bears' 75th anniversary season, so they introduced throwback jerseys which paid homage to the 1925 to 1927 squads who wore these same uniforms. The thought was nice and all. The uniforms, however, were not. Seriously, what is this supposed to be? They look more like youth soccer jerseys. And all that yellow? Ugh, disgusting. Gross. To the next one. Cincinnati Bengals, 1968-80 uniforms. The legendary Paul Brown founded both the Cleveland Browns and Cincinnati Bengals. The Browns named their team after him. The Bengals play in Paul Brown Stadium. He's an icon to both organizations. But that doesn't mean the Bengals had to mimic the Browns when it came to the jersey designs. Take a look at their inaugural uniforms. They look exactly like those of the Browns. The Bengals had these uniforms until the 1980 season. In 81, they finally had a makeover and introduced the slick tiger uniforms with the orange stripes on the helmet. Finally, the Bengals no longer looked like they were trying to rip off the Browns. Cleveland Browns, 1975-83 home uniforms. The Browns have retained the dominant dark brown home jerseys for years. It's mainly the pants that have undergone changes. For 9 years from 1975 to 83, they donned the orange pants to go along with the brown jerseys. It was just horrible mixing and matching. Never wear something like this on the first date. Is it a coincidence that after the Browns ditched these uniforms in 1984, they went on to reach 3 AFC Championship games before the 1986 and 89 seasons? Look good, feel good, play good. No wonder they were a bad team with those old uniforms. Dallas Cowboys, 1960-63 uniforms. America's team hasn't seen many changes to their uniform designs throughout the years, and that's a good thing. The historic franchise shouldn't ever think about moving away from the navy white and silver uniforms. And of course, the iconic star logo will never go away. But from 1960 to 63, the Cowboys had some okay jerseys that certainly go down as the worst in franchise history. We're not even going to choose one between the home and away outfits. Both were terrible. Were the Cowboys trying to dress up like Captain America or something? Just not enough creativity nor design here. Neither the predominant navy nor the predominant white jerseys work for us. At least the organization changed it up in 1964 and never looked back after that. Denver Broncos 1960-61 AFL throwback uniforms. The Denver Broncos met the New England Patriots in Week 5 of the 2009 season. It was a memorable Josh McDaniels vs. Bill Belichick showdown. This contest marked an AFL legacy game, so both clubs wore their throwback uniforms. For the Broncos, that meant donning these incredibly ugly yellow and brown uniforms they wore in the 1960 and 1961, the club's first 2 seasons of existence. Unsurprisingly, the Broncos haven't worn these jerseys ever since. They have no reason to. The orange crush uniforms are a thing of beauty. The navy alternative uniforms are a fine secondary option. No need to return to these grotesque uniforms from their early days. Detroit Lions, throwback uniforms. We haven't seen them much in recent years, but over numerous occasions in the 21st century, the Lions have worn either hideous throwback uniforms, more specifically the ones where they look like astronauts from an outer space sci-fi film. Do you get what we're saying? The silver helmet with no logo plus the flashy pants are just not a good look. Again, they look like spacemen, not football players. Green Bay Packers, 1937 throwback uniforms. Hard not to love the Packers' green and yellow colored uniforms. One of the most recognizable and iconic in all of North American sports. But the same cannot be said about the 1937 throwback uniforms. Here's what they looked like back in the day. Awful, gross, terrible all around. The colors just don't go together at all. And isn't it the 21st century? Why are they dressing up like it's the 30s? Houston Texans, battle red uniforms. The Texans' main colors of dark blue, red, and white all go together nicely. But my god, can they please stay away from these ugly battle red alternative uniforms forever? Just way too flashy for our liking. I mean, throw in a bit of navy at least. The all-red uniform really doesn't work most of the time. And again, it's only Houston's alternative jersey. Just scrap it for good. Indianapolis Colts, 1950s throwback uniforms. In a 2010 regular season game against the Philadelphia Eagles, the Indianapolis Colts paid homage to the 50s Baltimore Colts by wearing their throwback uniforms. The most noticeable difference was the blue-colored helmet, which the Colts wore from 1953 to 55, their first 3 years of existence. I don't know. In my opinion, the blue helmets made the Colts look like Power Rangers. But for what it's worth, the Colts haven't used these throwback uniforms since. Jacksonville Jaguars, 1995 home uniforms. The 90s were just an awful time for any type of style or color or just anything. Well, no, I was born in the 90s, but that's not important. The Jaguars entered the NFL in 1995, and their home uniforms consisted of mainly teal colors, with a bit of white, gold, and black. I'm pretty sure teal should just stay in the 90s. But the ones they donned in their inaugural season were simply hard to like. The designers just got too fancy with the teal colors. They needed more shades of white, black, or gold to complete the designs. It just wasn't there, period. Kansas City Chiefs, 1962 throwback uniforms. A quick glance through their uniform history and you'll see nothing major has really changed on the Chiefs designs, except for the helmet. So we're kind of nitpicking here, not gonna lie. Anyway, we certainly weren't fans of the Chiefs' 1962 throwback uniform that we saw in the 2009 season. Again, the only major change here was the logo, which displayed the old Dallas Texans logo instead of the Chiefs. The upper chest patch was also different. You see, it's just not very nice. The Texans left Kansas City over a half-century ago. Rather than go throwback, they should just find a new alternate uniform. Los Angeles Chargers, 1979 to 84 home uniforms. We've maintained for a while that the current LA Chargers uniforms are among the best in the NFL, especially the alternate turquoise home uniforms. More of those, please. However, the Chargers wore some pretty ugly uniforms during a stretch of the Dan Fouts era. From 1979 to 84, they had dark blue and yellow uniforms that just didn't go well together. The Chargers adopted a darker color blue for the 1985 season, and they've retained that, along with the yellow as their main home jerseys ever since. Good call making the change. Los Angeles Rams, 1949 uniforms. Blue and yellow have been the main colors for the Los Angeles Rams throughout their history, but for the 1949 season, they had these rather hideous yellow and red uniforms, similar to those of the Washington Redskins uniforms, except, well, the Rams' designs just weren't very good. Seriously, like, what is this supposed to be? The nice part is that the Rams apparently realized the mistake. They went back to the standard blue and yellow jerseys in 1950 and never went back to the red outfits again. Miami Dolphins, 2009 alternate uniforms. Can't blame the Dolphins uniform designers for trying here. Or we can, which we are, but the all-orange look is excessive. Just way over the top. It's way too flashy. Those jerseys should be worn by airplane traffic controllers, not by an NFL team. Thank God the Dolphins recycled these jerseys in short time. Minnesota Vikings, 1962 to 65 away uniforms. The Vikings have done a fine job maintaining wonderful uniform designs throughout their history. We love the predominant purple uniforms. You won't find many complaints about them from football fans or pundits. But from 1962 to 65, it was hard to get behind the Vikings' white away uniforms, especially the white jersey purple pants outfit. They just didn't really do it for us. A little more purple on the shirts and more shades of yellow on the pants would have done well. The white on top, purple on bottom look just wasn't pretty. New England Patriots. Red Boston Patriots uniforms. The organization went by the Boston Patriots name from 1960 to 70. Many believe it makes more sense to rename them back to Boston Patriots. That's a debate for another day. What isn't up for debate? The fact that the red Boston uniforms were downright hideous. Maybe we just love the current Patriots outfits too much. It's fitting that red, white, and blue make up the main colors of the team called Patriots. But the predominant red unis this team wore while in Boston just didn't do it for us. There simply weren't enough bits of white and blue here. If there was less red and more of other colors, we wouldn't have disliked these jerseys so much. New Orleans Saints. 1970 to 74 black uniforms. We'll happily agree that the Saints have some of the absolute best uniforms in all of football right now. But we couldn't say that from 1970 to 74, because their main uniforms were just not the least bit pretty. It's really the color of the pants we can't get over. The bright yellow with yellow and black stripes down the side, it's too much. The black and gold are way better. Perhaps these uniforms look cool back in the 70s, but it's just too ugly for us kids who grew up admiring their current black and gold outfits. New York Giants, 1954 red uniforms. For over 6 decades now, the Giants have kept the predominant blue and gray uniforms with doses of white and red. But in the 40s and 50s, the G-Men had some ultra ugly red uniforms. We would have condoned these uniforms if they were only worn around Christmas time, but otherwise the Giants had no reason to wear these. They wore the uniforms up until 1956 before finally scrapping them. New York Jets, 1960 to 62 throwback uniforms. From 1960 to 62, the Jets franchise went by the New York Titans. They had similar jersey colors to those of the Los Angeles Rams. But once they changed the name to the Jets, the organization switched the green and white uniforms. From 2007 to 2011, the Jets donned these ugly throwback uniforms that paid homage to the New York Titans. So cringeworthy. Sorry to keep saying this, but it looks as though they got mustard stains all over their pants. The colors just don't mesh together nicely. It's been almost a decade since the Jets last wore these jerseys. Let's hope they stay away from them permanently. Oakland Raiders, 1963 white uniforms. Black and silver are the main colors of the Oakland Raiders uniforms. But back in 1963, the organization had these awful white uniforms, with bits of gold in the jersey to go along with gray pants. Sorry, but these colors just don't go at all. It's too weird seeing gold on a Raiders jersey. You cannot combine that and silver together. You look like Gold Dust from the WWE. Thank goodness the Raiders have stuck with black and silver as their main colors ever since. Philadelphia Eagles, 2007 home throwback uniforms. We thought Philly green was the main color for the Eagles uniforms, but for the 07 season, Philadelphia adopted these hideous yellow and turquoise outfits. It's as if they were trying to steal a page from the Los Angeles Chargers playbook. Those colors are the same as the Chargers' alternate home uniform. Thankfully, the Eagles haven't worn these jerseys since. There must have been a giant outcry from the fan base to ban them. Pittsburgh Steelers, Bumblebee throwback uniform. Do we really need to explain much? These unis are just downright ugly. In fact, we'd happily make the case for them being the absolute worst uniform in the history of the NFL. The Steelers' regular uniforms are among the most admired and recognized in all of sports. What's the point of asking your players to dress up like bumblebees? It's an intimidation factor. Bet you it's not working. If anything, the opponents must laugh anytime they encounter those horrible outfits. San Francisco 49ers, 1959 to 63 red uniforms. We just love everything about the 49ers' current uniforms. The red and gold colors go nicely together. And you know it makes sense to have gold in there since this team's name is inspired by the 1849 gold rush on the West Coast. But from 1959 to 63, the 49ers donned these lackluster uniforms in which the primary colors were red and gray. Maybe they looked nice at the time, but compare those colors to red and gold, and these old uniforms just look hideous. Should have been red and gold from the get-go. Why on earth would they mix red with gray here? Seattle Seahawks, 2009 alternate uniforms. The lone bright side is that these uniforms lasted for only 1 season. I mean, I just have no words here. Lasers from Star Wars, green popsicles, Xbox Gamer Convention, Comic-Con, just horrendous to look at. At least the Seahawks' current color rush uniforms have a nice all-green look, but mixing green with the dark blue here was just a terrible call. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, orange home uniforms. The Buccaneers adopted orange and white colored home uniforms in their inaugural 1976 season. Those would be the main colors for Tampa's home unis until the 1997 season, when they opted to change up the colors, logo, and outfit design. Thank God, because those orange jerseys were just plain ugly. I thought we were watching a football team, not a bunch of creamsicles running around the field. The Bucs have made plenty of changes to their uniforms over the years. Thankfully, they've stayed away from going back to the creamsicle colors. Tennessee Titans, Houston Oilers throwbacks. The Houston Oilers relocated to Tennessee and became the Titans in 1997, and the main uniform colors stayed intact. The Titans pay homage every now and then to the Oilers by donning throwback jerseys. But yeah, there's nothing to like about them. Our advice? Maybe just forget about the Oilers now. Houston has its football team back. Just scrap these throwbacks forever. Washington Redskins, 1937 throwback uniforms. In numerous seasons during the 2010s, the Washington Redskins donned the 1937 throwback uniforms. The jerseys gained more recognition in 2012 and 13 during Robert Griffin III's tenure with the organization. But the uniforms just don't do it for us. The dark burgundy colors don't work. The helmets are way out of date. Yes, we know it's a throwback outfit. Doesn't mean the helmet looks cool. The bits of gold, especially on the numbers, not too fancy. The colors and overall design just don't go together in any way here. Which do you think is the ugliest uniform in the history of your favorite NFL team? Join me in the comment section below. Make sure to follow myself and TPS on social media. We post great content all the time. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I post videos every week. And if you want more of me, you should go there. Make sure to subscribe to TPS because we post videos all the time. Subscribe. If you like this video, give it a like. It takes one click right down there. Of course, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jason Biondo. I'll see you next time.
My knee.